So this video is going to be a very quick video on what exactly is GitOps and how does it differ from the various CI/CD tools that we use. So when we talk about GitOps in Argo CD context, Argo CD copies or is built upon some of the best practices that we follow in software development. So and those best practices could be seen in Git. So basically every change which we do in our code, we commit it to the version control. In that way, every change is auditable and every change could be reviewed. Like we have merge requests and all. So whatever changes we do, somebody reviews them and then merges those. Right. So this is one of the best practices that has been followed for years now. And then it is infrastructure as code. So this has also been followed. Like we were using a lot of different tools and all to build infrastructure as code, and so that helps in various ways. That means our environment is reproducible, that whatever environment we have built, if that gets accidentally deleted or anything changes and we are not able to trace it, we can run the scripts again or the code again and an environment would be built in the exact same way. And it is easy to see what exactly went on creating the environment, right? So any developer could join tomorrow and he could see all the code and he could see how the environment was created. So these are a couple of best practices that are already being followed for years. And the next a newer one is Kubernetes. So we have also been provisioning infrastructure for quite some time, but the major difference in Kubernetes is it allows us to declaratively mention that what type of infrastructure we need, right? For example, you tell the Kubernetes that how many number of replicas you want, right? What is the image you want to use, and then you apply those configurations. Now when you apply those configurations, you are not manually executing the actions or the commands to update the image, right? You are just applying the configuration, and how exactly is done, how exactly the image is pulled, and if there's any error in pulling the image, what is the strategy and all to follow. You can configure it, but you're not executing those manually, right? So all you do is you tell Kubernetes, hey, this is what I want, right? And Kubernetes listens onto that configuration, and based on that configuration it applies those changes. Again, an example is you want 10 replicas. You would just tell Kubernetes that you need 10 replicas. How exactly those replicas are created, what are the exact commands that will be executed, is handled by Kubernetes. So again, the major differentiator in Kubernetes was the declarative setup that we do, or the declarative configurations that we apply on Kubernetes, and Kubernetes does and figure out everything for us, that how exactly those configurations needs to be applied. As a developer, or as I don't need to go into those micro details, and that is exactly what these GitOps tools do for us. So when we look at the best practices that we follow from these three tools or processes, the best practices could be described here. So first is that everything is in version control, which is infrastructure as code, right? So if your environment gets deleted or somebody does an accidental change, you can run your code again and the environment could be reproduced. And every change that goes into the code could be reviewed, so we don't have to do special tools and all for it. So that processes have already been set up and everybody uses review processes to merge in the code. Next is we use declarative tooling. That means we don't need to remember each and every instruction, that what we need to do in the change in the system, right? All we want to do is we want to tell the system that, hey, this is the state which I want, and the system should be smart enough to read what state we want to reach and then apply those state changes in the system, and it should guarantee that that stage has been reached. And this is what Kubernetes does for us, and this is what Argo CD also does for us. If you're liking this video so far, please click the thumbs up icon and subscribe to my channel, because it motivates me to make more such videos. So suppose that you're already using Kubernetes, right, but you're not using any GitOps tool like Argo CD. So the way that you are building your application and deploying it to Kubernetes is in the following: that you might be using some CI tool, right, continuous integration tool like Circle CI, Travis CI, Jenkins or something like that, and which listens on to the code and then it builds the code, right? After you merge the code into master or some other branch, it builds it, right? And it creates a newer container image, and that container image is updated in the manifest files, right? That is, in the deployment, you declare that what is the container image you want to use. Or you could also do some other changes, like you could update the number of replicas, or you could create new services and all. So you could do those configuration changes also. But when you do those configuration changes in the manifest, like all of those manifest files, if you're already using Kubernetes, most probably you're already checking into Git, right? And those get reviewed. But the very big difference, which we do now, like if you're not using GitOps, is that all of these manifests which you apply them manually. So you have to manually trigger the applying process after the image or after you have updated the manifest files. But here, whatever changes we need to apply, we are pushing, right? So the better way is, like, there is a tool who listens on to these configuration changes. Whenever they are updated, it should apply those configuration changes on Kubernetes and make sure that Kubernetes is updated whenever our manifest files are updated. And that is exactly what Argo CD does. So when you add Argo CD in your project, like when you're using Argo CD, your code is still built using CI tools like Circle CI, Travis CI. We use Argo CD CI also. So the container image is still updated in the manifest files, right? So the changes again could be container image related, or it could be some other infrastructure changes like adding of the new services, updating of the replicas and all. But two major updates, or like two major things which Argo CD provides is, Argo CD listens on to all of these manifest changes, right? So you don't have to manually push those commands or manually apply those Kubernetes changes. Argo CD will see, okay, these manifest files have changed in Git, and it would apply those configuration changes on Kubernetes. Other very important thing it does is, it sees what is the state in Kubernetes, and then it also sees what is the state of those manifest files in Git, whether these match or not, and if they don't match, what is the difference, right? So you could see on the UI or from the command line when you're using Argo CD, you can see whether your latest deployments or latest changes to the Kubernetes clusters have been rolled out or not, right? Have been released or not. And if you want to roll back those changes, you could do it all using Argo CD. So again, to reiterate, Argo CD does not change like your whole project or the way you build code and all. All it does is it makes sure whenever you're updating the manifest files, those manifest files are applied against the Kubernetes environment, and when they are applied, it makes sure that the state that was mentioned in the manifest file and the state that is in Kubernetes, they match. And if they do not match, it would highlight those changes which do not match, so that you could see it from the command line or from a web UI. So I hope this short video makes it clear what GitOps is and what exactly Argo CD provides, as compared to the traditional way of running your applications and updating the applications in Kubernetes. So join me for the next video, where I would be deploying a couple of applications in Argo CD, where we'll also update the code and we'll see like how exactly those changes are applied to the Kubernetes cluster using Argo CD. So if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, because it motivates me a lot to make more such videos.